while I am not prepared to chalk this up as a win for HBO Max, I will say the second episode for The Last of Us series is better than the premiere episode. Is it great? Again, in my opinion, no, but it is better than the premiere episode. Hello, this is Mario J, and I'm back with a spoiler-free review for the episode 2 for The Last of Us on HBO Max. I'm going to try to steer away from spoilers as much as possible because I plan to do a spoiler breakdown for this episode this coming Saturday. I was not able to do a spoiler breakdown for the premiere episode, so I might touch on spoilers for that episode a little bit in the episode 2 spoiler breakdown, but we will see. So that is the plan moving forward this coming Saturday. But right now, I'm just going to give my overall impressions and thoughts for the second episode. This episode pretty much takes place from when the first episode leaves off. Joel and Tess are taking Ellie to a rendezvous, or what they believe to be a rendezvous, with the Firefly group. And the Firefly group is supposed to take Ellie off their hands. And part of the deal, essentially, from Marlene from the first episode is Joel and Tess will get a battery, because the whole point of this is for them to get a battery so they can basically put it into a car and go out west because Joel is looking for his brother Tommy, who have we not seen since the premiere episode, or at least we've not seen since the events started going down in Texas early on in the episode, because once we get to Boston, Tommy is nowhere to be found, and we have no idea exactly where he is, and Joel is on the look for him. But anyway, so again, episode 2 picks up where episode 1 leaves off. And basically, you see Joel and Tess taking Ellie through the city to the rendezvous point, and having to be careful because there are runners in the city. And there are only 2 avenues they can go through, essentially, according to Joel and Tess. They plan on going the long way, as they put it, but they have to make sure it is safe for them to do so, pretty much, and we find out rather soon, once they get to the good vantage point, that it is not safe, pretty much. That there is a horde of runners, and the assumption is that these were people that wanted to go into the QZ, as they call it, went in for shelter, things like that, and were bitten and infected and so forth, so the numbers have increased, to Joel and Tess's dismay, pretty much. But that's early on in the episode. It's not exactly a spoiler, pretty much, but again, it steers the plot and how and where Joel and Tess have to navigate the city and keep Ellie safe. Joel, played by Pedro Pascal, is better in this episode than I think he was in the first episode. I think if he continues this moving forward, he will be a decent Joel. Do I think he may be the best casting for the role? I cannot honestly say. I think there might have been better actors they could have picked, but for the most part, he's doing what he can with the scripts and the dialogue and so forth, and trying to bring that character to the screen. Again, better than the first episode, but again, I'm not going to chalk it up as a win. I'm not going to chalk it up as, oh my god, he's Joel, or anything like that. I am waiting to see, because we are only 2 episodes in. Ellie, I would say, it's very, in my opinion, the biggest negative I have for this episode. Okay? Again, I'm going to preface this with saying that I'm not expecting her to necessarily be quiet, shy, or anything like that, because Ellie kind of has a little bit of an attitude to her, and so forth, but at the same time, the way this actress delivers her lines and the responses she gives to Joel and Ellie, nearly every fucking response she gives is a smart-aleck response, a smart-ass, pretty much. Because Joel even calls her a smart-ass at one point in this episode. Nearly every response she gives him. Yes, little girl, you're not in the best situation. But guess what? Neither Joel and Tess don't want to be in that fucking situation either. So maybe, just maybe, cool your jets a little bit. Cool your fucking jets. And this is what I want to say to her. I know, I think in the last spoiler-free review I did, or one of the streams I did, I can't remember, but I said I wanted to slap the sass out of her, and I still want to slap the sass out of her. You know, I'm not saying necessarily that she has to exactly accept the entire situation as it is or anything like that, but she has no fucking choice at this point. She's going to be a little bit more reserved in her responses, considering the fact also that they, again, brought up the events that happened in the mall. Basically, events that happened in The Last of Us Left Behind DLC for the first game. This is, again, another issue I kind of have with this series, is that the writers and so forth are banking on most everyone, or pretty much everyone watching the series, will be Last of Us fans. And that is true. Last of Us fans are the primary demographic, the primary target for the audience that HBO Max is going for. However, they're not the only demographic watching this. Normies are watching this series as well. I'm not saying necessarily that we have to be beaten over the head with exposition as to what exactly happened in the mall, but normies who have never played the game and so forth are going to be wondering, who's Riley? What's this mall? Alright, who's Riley associated with? How did Ellie end up with the Fireflies and so forth? They're kind of glossing over that, which, again, if they bring it up again, they're going to have to find a way to weave that into the conversation so people who don't know what happened or at least have an understanding and so forth. I know what happened. Those who play the DLC know what happened, and that's why I'm looking at this characterization of Ellie, and I'm thinking, you little shit. Everything you went through in that situation, again, you're still just like this over-the-top smartass. Take it down a notch or two. You'd think after the events that happened, she would take it down a notch or two. She would at least been a little bit humbled, and so forth. She would at least been, have a eye-opening experience to the situation that they are in. And I don't get that impression from the way this chick, because she's 20 years old, she's playing a 14-year-old pretty much, but this actress is 20 years old now, is portraying this character. She is the biggest negative so far in the first 2 episodes. Alright? And the other character we follow in this episode is Tess. They're really the only 3, pretty much, that we follow in this episode, because she's with Joel. The plan is for them to go off together to find Joel's brother Tommy, and without going into spoilers, shit goes down. We see runners, and we see a couple clickers in this episode. Alright, I'm not going to go into what I think about the clickers. I want to save that for the spoiler breakdown, but we see them at some point later on in the episode. They don't change what happens to Tess, necessarily, but they do change how it happens, and why she has to do, well, not sort of why she has to do essentially what she has to do. And when I say sort of, I mean it's like one time the same and another time different. And for those who have played the game, I'm hoping I'm making sense. You would understand what I'm talking about pretty much. Again, changing things that I don't think necessarily need to be changed, but at the same time, I kind of see why they did, because they didn't set up anything properly in the first episode, considering the antagonism between the Fedra and the Fireflies, pretty much. We get that they're at odds. We get that they're very much at odds. Fireflies are considered basically a terrorist organization or insurgent organization, whatever you want to call it, to the Fedra, which is basically a military dictatorship, and so forth. And they allude to all that in the first episode, but they don't exactly go into at least enough detail to warrant what we would normally have seen, what we should, per the game, of what happened to Tess. And I will go into that on a spoiler breakdown this coming Saturday. But again, it basically ends with just Joel and Ellie, pretty much. So, that is essentially, in a nutshell, episode 2, not going into spoilers. It's very much following those 3 the entire episode. 52 minutes roughly, that's all we really see in this episode, except for the tense moments near the end of the episode. But again, not going into spoilers. So, if you've seen episode 2, what are your thoughts? Let me know all that fun stuff down in the comments below. Again, I would give, better than the first episode, but I'm not going to chalk it up as a win. I'd give it maybe a 7 out of 10, so forth. Ellie being the biggest negative I have so far with this series. We'll see how the actress portrays her moving forward, but in the meantime, again, what are your thoughts? Let me know all that. I will be live later on Twitch this evening, probably around 7:30 p.m. Eastern or so my time. Normally I would be squatting up with the Warzone, but schedules and so forth, we're not all able to be there essentially, so no Warzone tonight. I'll figure out what to play on my channel, and I'll tweet it out once I know for sure later on in the evening. So if you like this review, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and look for the spoiler breakdown I will do this coming Saturday on my channel. This is Mara Jade, catch you on the dark side, and again, just want to fucking slap the sass out of this little girl's mouth.